Have you ever, like, sat in a crowded movie theater, popcorn in hand, watching this massive summer blockbuster, and suddenly realized you were being tricked?
Oh, I love that feeling.
Right. And I mean tricked in the best way possible. Like, you walk in expecting this standard 2-hour roller coaster of explosions, quippy one-liners, CGI battles, but then as the credits roll, it hits you that you are actually watching something surprisingly deep.
Yeah, it really is a great feeling. It's kind of like the cinematic equivalent of hiding vegetables in a delicious pasta sauce.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, because the audience is getting all this incredible nutritional value, complex thematic questions, social commentary, but it just goes down easily because it tastes like comfort food.
Exactly. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at what might actually be the ultimate modern example of that trickery. We are jumping into the 2013 Marvel Studios film, Iron Man 3. Yeah, and our mission today is to explore how this billion-dollar superhero sequel acted as like a giant Trojan horse. On the outside, it's a shiny metal-plated comic book movie. But hidden inside is this surprisingly sharp exploration of post-traumatic stress disorder, the military-industrial complex, and even modern media manipulation.
Right, and not to mention the fact that the movie itself is just a fascinating case study in Hollywood economics.
Totally.
I mean, the story behind the camera is a masterclass in how global corporate mandates, international merchandising, and even unexpected physical injuries shape the actual art we consume.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand why this movie was such a massive cultural and financial success, we first have to look at how the filmmakers completely deconstructed the main character. Like moving from the concept of a Trojan horse to the very vulnerable man hiding inside it.
Right, to set the stage, you have to remember where this character, and I mean this entire franchise, was at the time.
Right, the early days of the cinematic universe.
Exactly. The director of the first two Iron Man films, Jon Favreau, had stepped back from the director's chair for this third installment. So, Robert Downey Jr. actually reached out to Shane Black.
Who is known for a very specific vibe.
Very specific. Black had directed him previously in the neo-noir comedy Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and he just brings this very distinct, grounded energy. So Black comes on board, teaming up with writer Drew Pearce, and they basically decide to take the character in a radically different direction.
Because they were coming right off the heels of the 2012 Avengers movie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that film had, wormholes opening over New York City, Norse gods fighting with magic hammers, a massive alien invasion, just totally wild stuff.
The scale was huge.
So Black and Pierce looked at that and explicitly decided to go the opposite route.
Yeah.
They wanted to avoid magic and space entirely. They actually pitched this as a Tom Clancy-style techno-thriller.
Which is a remarkably bold choice when you consider the momentum of the franchise at that exact moment.
Yeah, people wanted bigger.
Right, audiences were clamoring for bigger, louder, more cosmic threats. But instead, the filmmakers made it a priority to strip Tony Stark of all his usual safety nets.
Just take it all away.
Yeah, he is systematically backed into a corner. He can't call Thor to bring down lightning. He can't call Captain America for tactical support. He's entirely on his own.
But it's not just that he's physically isolated, right? He is psychologically shattered. The movie introduces us to a guy who is suffering from severe PTSD following that alien invasion in New York.
Right.
He is experiencing these frequent debilitating panic attacks. He can't sleep. He can't even stomach hearing the words New York without freaking out.
What's fascinating here is how clinically accurate that portrayal actually is.
Really, from a medical standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Psychologist and author Dr. Travis Langley has heavily analyzed this film, and he concluded that Tony Stark meets all the diagnostic criteria outlined in the psychiatric manual for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Wow. Which is wild to think about, right?
Yeah.
You have this huge summer popcorn movie backed by a massive toy line. And it's dealing with clinically accurate trauma.
Exactly. I mean, Stark is exhibiting severe anxiety attacks, hypervigilance, frequent nightmares, and just this total inability to be out in public without feeling threatened.
Yeah.
And mirroring many real-world trauma survivors, he's completely in denial that anything is wrong at all. He just refuses to seek help or even acknowledge his symptoms to his partner, Pepper Potts.
Which totally diverges from the standard, invincible male action leads we are so used to seeing in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Usually the hero walks away from a building exploding behind him in slow motion, and he doesn't even blink. The trauma just kind of bounces off him.
Yeah.
But Tony is, shattered by what he survived.
Right.
And his coping mechanism is brilliant, I think, from a character perspective. because to deal with his insomnia, he just retreats into his basement workshop and builds dozens and dozens of new Iron Man suits, which, if you think about it, is incredibly relatable.
Wait, you find building advanced exoskeleton armor relatable?
Well, no, not the armor itself, but the psychological mechanism behind it is, I mean, think about your own life.
Okay.
How many times have you found yourself just endlessly scrolling on your phone in bed, or like burying yourself in busy work at the office, or organizing your garage for the fourth time, just to avoid processing a major life transition or a breakup or some personal trauma?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Right. Tony building those suits is just the billionaire genius version of doom scrolling at 3 a.m. He's trying to build physical armor because his mental armor is completely gone.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. He is desperately trying to engineer control in a universe that has just proven to be terrifyingly uncontrollable.
Exactly.
And the writers recognized that for this character arc to actually work, they had to push him out of that workshop. So the entire middle act of the film is intentionally designed to strip him of his technology.
Right. His experimental suit runs out of power.
Yeah, stranding him in rural Tennessee in the middle of winter. He has to investigate a mystery using hardware store supplies instead of billion-dollar tech.
And that internal psychological grounding meant the external threat had to match, right? Stripping down a hero to his realistic psychological core meant the film needed a villain grounded in the real world.
Right.
And that necessity led to one of the most brilliant and, frankly, controversial misdirections in modern cinema history.
The Mandarin.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because throughout the first half of the film, the narrative introduces this terrifying international terrorist known as the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
And this character is hijacking television broadcasts, claiming responsibility for a string of deadly bombings across the globe, and speaking in this chilling, highly educated cadence.
Kingsley's performance is incredibly intentional there. He purposefully cultivated a voice that would disconcert a Western audience by sounding strangely familiar.
Right, it's not like a cartoon villain.
Exactly. It isn't a cartoonish villain voice at all. It sounds like an earnest, benign teacher or a political pundit who is just patiently trying to educate the public for their own good.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
It really gets under your skin because it feels like something you'd actually see flipping through the evening news.
But then Tony Stark finally tracks this mastermind down. He infiltrates the Mandarin's compound in Miami, kicks open the door expecting a deadly confrontation, and discovers
Trevor Slattery.
just this completely oblivious, drug-addicted British stage actor who's emerging from a bathroom and asking for a smoothie.
It's so funny. He isn't a mastermind at all. He is a washed-up actor hired by the actual villain of the piece, a scientist named Aldrich Killian, played by Guy Pearce.
Right.
Killian runs a high-tech think tank called AIM, and he invented the Mandarin persona entirely out of thin air just to cover up his own corporate crimes.
It is a masterclass in subverting audience expectations. By using Trevor Slattery, the film pivots into a surprisingly sharp critique of modern geopolitical anxiety. Now, obviously, we're just looking at what film critics have pointed out about the movie themes here. We aren't taking a stance on U.S. foreign policy, but critics have noted that the movie is attempting to satirize the post-9/11 cultural climate.
Right, it's a reflection of that era.
Exactly. Killian creates this fake terrorist specifically to capitalize on the war on terror. The Mandarin serves as this looming theatrical menace that keeps the American public terrified and the government distracted, all while Killian's defense contracts secretly process in the background.
They're essentially weaponizing how human brains process fear.
Yes. There's a psychological concept called the availability heuristic.
Right? It's a mental shortcut. People tend to make judgments about danger based on the most immediate, vivid examples that come to mind.
Exactly. Killian and his think tank understand this perfectly. They design the Mandarin using a large beard, army pans, cryptic video broadcasts, and anti-U.S. rhetoric, because that matches exactly what the public has been conditioned by a decade of cable news to expect a terrorist to look like.
They basically just feed the public their own biases.
Yeah. Shane Black even noted that the goal was to show how fear is manufactured and taken advantage of, to pass harmful policies or, in this specific case, cover up a massive corporate disaster.
Because the terrorist bombings aren't actually bombs at all. That's the real corporate crime.
Right, the extremist virus.
Yeah. Killian's think tank developed this biological treatment called extremis. It's designed to regenerate human tissue, but it's deeply flawed. Sometimes the human body rejects a virus, causing the test subjects to literally heat up and detonate like a bomb.
Which is horrifying.
It is. And instead of recalling the product and admitting failure, Killian just brands these catastrophic medical explosions as terrorist attacks and puts Trevor Slattery on television to take the credit.
It's so dark.
It is a wildly cynical, Tom Clancy-esque concept. Like, what if the monster on the news was just a marketing campaign designed to hide a product defect?
It is so clever, and it fits the themes of media manipulation perfectly. But I have to push back a little on how this played out in reality.
Okay, go for it.
Was this twist almost too subversive for an audience that, just bought a ticket for a fun superhero movie? Did it end up alienating the core fan base? Because anyone who reads the comics knows that the Mandarin is Iron Man's most famous, most powerful, magical foe.
Oh, yeah. He has alien rings of power in the comics.
Right, so to turn him into a corporate hoax is kind of a massive middle finger to the source material, isn't it?
It absolutely caused a massive divide. When the film premiered, a lot of film critics and casual viewers loved the sheer audacity of the twist. It was praised for being unpredictable and, like we said, a great piece of social satire.
Yeah.
But you are spot on. A very vocal segment of the hardcore fan base felt profoundly cheated. They had been waiting years to see this epic, magic-wielding villain on the big screen. Instead of a magical showdown, they got a satirical commentary on Western xenophobia.
That is a really tough pill to swallow if you just wanted to see a comic book come to life.
Yeah.
So how did the studio navigate that backlash? Because Marvel is known for being incredibly protective of its brand and its fans.
They executed a very subtle pivot. Marvel is actually very good at listening to audience feedback without entirely undoing their filmmakers' work.
Okay, how did they do that?
Well, in 2014, a year after Iron Man 3, they released a short film called All Hail the King. It was included on the home media release for another movie, Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, I remember those short films.
Yeah. And this short starred Ben Kingsley, reprising his role as Trevor Slattery, who is now sitting in a maximum security prison, just totally enjoying his newfound celebrity status.
Wait, they gave the fake terrorist a spinoff?
They did. But the crux of the short film is an interview with a documentary filmmaker who turns out to be an assassin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he reveals to Trevor that there is a real Mandarin out there in the universe, leading a real clandestine organization. And he is furious that Trevor stole his name and turned it into a joke.
That is so smart.
Right. It served as a brilliant little course correction. It appeased the hardcore fans by confirming the mystical villain actually exists, while still keeping the satirical twist of Iron Man 3 entirely intact.
That is a very smart needle to thread. But it also highlights the tension between creative storytelling and the business of making blockbusters,
Absolutely.
Because while the film's plot was busy critiquing media manipulation in the military-industrial complex, the actual physical production of the movie was being aggressively shaped by a completely different kind of corporate machine.
Oh, for sure. The business of making a billion-dollar movie is often just as dramatic and honestly sometimes far more cynical than the movie itself.
Oh, yeah. For instance, Aldrich killing Guy Pearce's character wasn't even supposed to be the main villain initially.
Right.
The original script had a female mastermind pulling all the strings.
Yes, Maya Hansen, played by Rebecca Hall. In the finished film, she is the brilliant geneticist who helps create the extremist virus, but she ends up being just a secondary character.
Right.
But Shane Black has revealed that in the original draft, it was structured a bit like a classic mystery. You think the male corporate suit is in charge, but at the end, the twist reveals that the female scientist has been ruthlessly running the whole operation the entire time.
Which would have been incredible. It fits right into that neo-noir genre Shane Black loves so much. But Marvel executives forced a massive change. They stepped in, reviewed the script, and objected. And their reasoning had nothing to do with the story at all.
It was purely financial.
Yes. They were concerned about a potential loss in action figure sales if the main villain was a woman.
It is a staggering detail. Corporate leadership at the time sent a memo stating that female toys wouldn't sell as well as male toys.
Just unbelievable.
So based entirely on potential merchandising revenue, the creative team was forced to rewrite the climax. Killian became the definitive big bad, and Rebecca Hall's role was drastically reduced. Hall herself later confirmed in interviews that she originally signed on for a substantial role that was a major player in the climax, only to arrive on set and find her character's arc entirely truncated.
It is a stark reminder that while these films are analyzed as art, They are fundamentally massive commercial products, beholden to merchandising departments and boardrooms.
Totally.
And corporate mandates weren't even the only major hurdle the production faced. They also had to deal with a catastrophic physical setback. Robert Downey Jr. actually broke his ankle during filming on location in North Carolina.
Which is a complete production nightmare. I mean, you can't exactly film a kinetic action movie without your main action star.
Right. What do you even do?
Well, when a movie has a release date locked in globally, the studio isn't going to delay it by months just to let an ankle heal. The interest on the budget alone would be astronomical.
Sure.
So the visual effects supervisor, a guy named Chris Townsend, had to get incredibly creative to keep the cameras rolling.
How do you even do that, though? I mean, this was 2013. We didn't have the AI deepfake technology we have today.
No, not at all. It required an immense amount of planning and technical wizardry. The production utilized 17 different visual effects studios, including heavy hitters like Weta Digital and Digital Domain.
Wow.
When Downey went down, they scrambled. They used body doubles on set to perform the physical blocking of the scenes. They had to capture highly specific lighting data on the set using HDRI spheres.
Okay.
Then, weeks later, once Downey was somewhat mobile but still couldn't really walk properly, they brought him into a green screen studio.
Wait, so they essentially filmed his head separately?
Exactly. They locked his head in place, perfectly matched the camera angles and the lighting data they captured on the real set, and had him perform his dialogue.
That's crazy.
And then in post-production, the VFX teams literally mapped the CGI version of Robert Downey Jr.'s face and head onto the body double's physical performance, stitching the next scene together frame by frame.
That is mind-boggling. The lead actor isn't even specifically present for crucial emotional beats or action sequences in his own movie, and the audience has absolutely no idea.
None at all. It's seamless.
But as crazy as that VFX workaround is,
Yeah.
maybe the most fascinating corporate element of Iron Man 3 is its relationship with China.
Oh, this is a textbook example of modern Hollywood globalization, and it explains so much about how the modern film industry actually operates.
Yeah.
Because Iron Man 3 wasn't just distributed in China, it was a massive co-production with a Chinese company called DMG Entertainment. They partly financed it, produced specific parts of it within China, and handled the distribution there.
But why go through all that trouble? I mean, why not just make the movie in America and export it like Hollywood has done for decades?
It all comes down to the Chinese film quota system.
Okay.
The Chinese government strictly limits the number of foreign films that can be screened in their theaters every year, and foreign studios only get a small percentage of the ticket sales. However, if a movie qualifies as a domestic co-production, meaning it involves Chinese financing, Chinese locations, and Chinese actors, it bypasses that quota entirely. It gets guaranteed distribution, and the studio keeps a significantly larger slice of the box office revenue.
I see. So it was basically a multi-million-dollar loophole.
Exactly.
And they didn't just share financing. They actually created an entirely separate, extended version of the film exclusively for the Chinese theatrical release.
Yeah, that's the wildest part.
Right. If you went to a theater in Beijing, you saw a version of Iron Man 3 that featured an extra 4 minutes of footage that nobody in America ever saw.
And that extra footage was highly specific, too. It included prominent product placement for Chinese electronics and a specific brand of Chinese milk called Yili.
Wow.
It also featured exclusive narrative scenes with Chinese megastar Fan Bingbing and actor Wang Wiki. He plays a character named Dr. Wu, who is heavily featured in the Chinese cut and ends up being the renowned surgeon who removes the shrapnel from Tony Stark's chest at the very end of the film.
So what does this all mean? Like, when you really step back and look at the mechanics of this, modern global blockbusters are no longer a single unified piece of art, are they?
Not at all.
They are more like bespoke, modular products. Think about it like targeted digital advertising.
Yeah.
You know how you can go to a website and based on your browsing history and your geographic location, the algorithm serves you a completely different ad than the one it serves me.
Oh, the modular movie. I like that.
Exactly. That is what happened with Iron Man 3. A viewer in Chicago and a viewer in Beijing bought a ticket for the exact same title, but they were served a slightly different movie, explicitly tailored to their geographic, demographic, and regional corporate sponsors.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really marks a major turning point in the entertainment industry. The Chinese box office was growing exponentially at that time, and Iron Man 3 proved that tailoring a film specifically to navigate that market pays off massively.
Yeah, the numbers were huge.
The strategy worked flawlessly. The film set a midnight showings record in China, and it became the highest-grossing American film in that country for the entire year, pulling in over $124 million just in that one market.
Which brings us to the ultimate bottom line of this entire deep dive. Because despite the broken ankles halting production, the toy-mandated script changes altering the villain, and the vocal fan backlash over the Mandarin twist.
Iron Man 3 was an absolute juggernaut.
Exactly. Financially, it was staggering. It grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide.
Yeah, it was the second highest grossing film of 2013, and at the time it finished its theatrical run, it stood as the fifth highest grossing film in the history of cinema.
It proved that a superhero movie didn't have to just be about magic and space lasers. It could successfully deconstruct its hero, deal with heavy grounded themes like trauma, fear-mongering, and the military-industrial complex, and still make over $1 billion.
Yeah, it really broadened the scope of what those movies could be.
It's a reminder that the next time you sit down to watch a giant blockbuster, you shouldn't just look at the CGI explosions. You should look for the real-world anxieties hiding right beneath the surface.
Because the filmmakers, whether consciously or subconsciously, are almost always processing the complexities of the world we live in through these fantastical, colorful lenses.
Definitely. And to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over, we mentioned earlier that Shane Black directed this film. Well, if you know Shane Black's filmography, you know he has a very specific trademark.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
He loves to set his movies during the holidays. Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys, and yes, Iron Man 3 all take place at Christmas.
Yeah, Black has actually mentioned in interviews that he likes setting movies at Christmas because it serves as a unifying backdrop for lonely characters. It forces isolation to the surface while creating a shared, universal experience.
Right. But there is a deeper literary layer hiding in plain sight in this movie. The next time you watch Iron Man 3, I want you to watch it not just as a Marvel movie, but as a high-tech superhero adaptation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Wait, A Christmas Carol? You think Tony Stark is Scrooge?
Yes. I mean, think about it. He is wildly rich, deeply isolated, entirely focused on his work, and completely miserable.
Okay, that fits.
And Shane Black specifically stated that the young kid Tony meets in Tennessee, Harley Keener, wasn't just there to be a cute sidekick.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Harley was written to be the literal embodiment of the ghost of Christmas past for Tony Stark. The kid forces Tony to look back at the eager, inventive mechanic he used to be, before all the trauma, before the aliens, before he was just hiding in his suits. He forces him to confront his past to save his future.
Wow, that is a phenomenal connection. It completely recontextualizes the entire middle act of the film.
Right.
It really makes you wonder what other classic literary structures are secretly propping up our favorite summer popcorn flicks without us ever even realizing it.
Exactly. It brings us right back to where we started. You think you're just getting a guy in a metal suit punching a bad guy, but you're actually getting a deep psychological thriller, a sharp critique of post-9/11 media manipulation, a lesson in global film economics, and a Dickensian redemption story, all wrapped up in $1 billion Trojan horse.